On this auspicious day, to celebrate the 89th birthday of the Supreme Leader of the Tibetan people, His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama, the Kashak, on behalf of all the Tibetans inside and outside, would like to pay our obeisance to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. We also extend our heartiest greetings to our chief guest, Prem Kumar Tamangji. He is also known as Goleji to friends. If you ask who is the Sikkim Chief Minister, they would say Goleji. So I had the occasion to meet him in his office for a breakfast meeting 2 years ago when I visited Gangdok, and we discussed about the problems that Tibetans in Rawallah has been facing. And you have given assurance that you will support them on road construction, water and electricity, 3 of the issues that we raised with you, and I'm hoping that this will get through. And I also want to thank you for bringing a 42 students delegation from Sikkim, all funded by you, and also the 6 non-governmental organizations accompanying this group. I also told in Tibetan that I acknowledge our gratitude to you for supporting the 6 Tibetan non-governmental organizations to have their offices there and some shops and other facilities which you have very graciously extended. And that will, I think, make the efficiency of the Tibetan non-governmental organizations in Sikkim more than what they have been. And Your Excellency, we want to congratulate you for the landslide victory that you had. I think not many people expected that you would win with such a majority. And this is, I think, unprecedented in Sikkim elections. Almost 100%, except for one member of parliament. So we want to acknowledge the fact that you have been able to receive His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Gangtok last year and had his blessing. So thank you very much. Remember, on the 25th of April this month, Deep Sejong Rinpoche was here to be part of the Panchen Rinpoche's 35th birth anniversary. And at that time, I requested Rinpoche to convey to Your Excellency about your attendance here, and you very immediately accepted this invitation, and today you are here. I want to thank you for your presence. And to the Honorable Speaker, who is part of the entourage of Chief Minister Goleji here, I'm meeting the Honorable Speaker for the first time, but it's really an honor. And all the 3 ministers who are present here, and members of His Excellency's entourage who have accompanied here. And I also want to acknowledge Tapir Gauji, who is the Honorable Lok Sabha member from East Arunachal Pradesh, and he represents, within his constituency, we have Tuting, we have Tezu, we have Meo Tibetan settlements, and he has been very kind to look after their welfare. And I also want to thank Honorable Chief Minister Pema Khandu for his consistent support for Tibet, and of his victory also in the local elections and also in the Lok Sabha elections. And then I also want to acknowledge the presence of Putila Karpuche here, who is a Tibetan, we all know, and she's one among the very few, I would say, or maybe only the only one who is elected in a state parliament, the Ontario State Parliament. This is her 2nd term, and she is right now one of the vice president of the Ontario State Parliament. I had the occasion to visit her office and also meet with some ministers in the Ontario State Parliament last year, and she was gracious enough to arrange all these meetings with all the important people in the state parliament, and she had worked very, very hard to declare July every year as the Tibetan Heritage Month in the state of Ontario. And that is not a small task. It involves a lot of work. I'm sure she'll speak a little bit about this, but having a Tibetan in that kind of position is always an inspiration for a lot of other people. And I also want to acknowledge Namgye Kangshun Sangla's presence here. He is the mayor of Otville, Sisam. Oh, it's very difficult to pronounce Swiss names, but he is a mayor there, and one of his very close friends, who's also in the Zurich Council, Mario Fair. I know him since 2004, and he has been a very staunch supporter of Tibet. Please welcome Namgyel Kangshon Sala also. I just want to mention for the fact that we have about 100 international students from 13 different countries from all over the world who have come to attend this International Youth Forum, leadership workshop. And one of our objective is we have created this platform called Voluntary Tibet Advocacy Group because we have the challenges of dispersing Tibetan community in India, but at the same time, we have the advantage of having Tibetans in more than 25 different countries, and many of them young people who have become citizens there, who understand the system, the language. So who better can be an advocate for Tibetans than Tibetans themselves? So this is what we have been trying to create over the last 2 years, and last year we had the first International Youth Forum. This is the second one, and they are today being invited as guests here. I'm sorry there's no chair for every one of you. But I think it's very important that your presence here signifies alongside 31 students from NDI's workshop and some 10 students from Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts. Every summer, Tibetans also come here to learn this. And all the students from Sikkim, all the students from Sikkim are very warm welcome to Dharamsala. So on this momentous occasion, as we rejoice in myriad ways around the world to celebrate His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday, every single one of us has to remind ourselves that it's time to be positively compassionate. In solemn gratitude to His Holiness the Dalai Lama's relentless effort in creating a compassionate global community. In accordance with the Tibetan calendar, this year marks the 90th birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. As per modern calendar, His Holiness will turn 90 on 6 July 2025. Beginning July 2025, the Kashak will commence a diverse series of year-long events celebrating this milestone as the Year of Compassion internationally. As a precursor to this significant event, the Kashak will briefly introduce the 4 principal lifelong commitments of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in 4 separate official events throughout this year or next year, throughout this year and next year, including today's occasion, as a gentle reminder to followers and friends that the best way to please your Lama is to put into practice their words of advice. His Holiness' first lifelong commitment is to promote the happiness of all humanity based on the concept of oneness of humanity. Here is how His Holiness have, over the years, proceeded to espouse in slightly different approaches the spirit of altruism, universal responsibility, advancement of human values, and secular ethics. During His Holiness' first visit to European countries in 1973, His Holiness emphasized the practice of altruism, a state of mind that abandons petty self-gain and realizes a sense of commitment to others' well-being when we met with an opportunity to help others. So this concept eventually evolved into what is now known as universal responsibility. In the 1990s, His Holiness began to give brief discourses on the concept of secular ethics. On May 10, 1999, His Holiness addressed on ethics for the new millennium at the Royal Albert Hall in London. His Holiness spoke of promoting human values as a responsibility of being a human being himself. The address did not specify whether it should be based on secular or religious ethics. However, in Varanasi in the year 2000, His Holiness publicly mooted the concept of secular ethics, not dependent on any particular religion. The concept of the oneness of humanity is based on the nature of interdependence that affects one another. His Holiness advises against discrimination based on country, national origin, race, language, color, ideology, culture, class, religion, or any other. He stresses and elaborates on the undeniable fact that individuals and societies as a whole are interdependent, among all others, in commerce and finance, politics and military, transportation and the environment. As long as we long for physically healthy, mentally happy, and long life free from illness, we should hold dear compassion, loving kindness, patience, contentment, and ethical conduct. When confronted with varied challenges, one must avoid the notion of being the only victim under a sense of despair, thereby losing one's capacity to face the challenge. Rather, one should be positively attuned to resolve obstacles and stages through cooperative effort. His Holiness believes that thinking long-term rather than short-term, prioritizing others before self, and working for the common good rather than individual interests are unavoidable responsibilities of humankind. His Holiness does not say this because of his title, or because he is a Buddhist leader, or as a free spokesperson of the Tibetan people, but rather as someone who is deeply committed to human well-being and respecting human values. His Holiness keeps emphasizing the importance of secular ethics. All the 8 billion human beings in this world aspire for happiness and abhor suffering. 1/8 of us are non-believers, and believers not only follow different religions but also different traditions within those religions. His Holiness talks about the means for gradually extending the need for individual happiness to humanity as a whole is based on the presence of compassion that could bring true happiness and peace. Based on innate human attitudes and feelings, His Holiness wrote hundreds of books to encourage the development and enhancement of basic human values and qualities. The Power of Compassion in 1995, The Art of Happiness in 1998, Ethics for the New Millennium in 2001, and Beyond Religion, Ethics for a New Whole World generated deep interest worldwide. To confront the present and growing degenerative future challenges of the gap between rich and poor and of we and they, His Holiness widely talks about the need to understand the interdependent nature of our existence for more openness and responsibility towards each other, and the need for education based on compassionate living. His Holiness also stresses the need to eliminate the main cause of our suffering, the concept of I and mine, that brings about unyielding thoughts. His persistence in including compassion and wisdom as part of holistic modern education has resulted in such practices in more than 130 countries to date, over and above convening annual international discussions on it. To symbolize their respect for His Holiness' invaluable thoughts, many Western nations have honored him with about 300 prestigious awards and honorary doctorates. His Holiness has visited more than 60 countries, nearly 300 times, and met with almost 500 political and religious figures. His public talks and visits to about 60 universities had helped open the minds of millions through the messages based on his 4 commitments and other invaluable insights. Next year, as mentioned above, the Kashak has decided to celebrate, as per the Western calendar, the 90th birthday of His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama, formally and internationally throughout the year. The 90th birth celebration organizing committee, headed by the Cabinet Secretary, will comprise civil servants of the 3 pillars of democracy and the major departments. This committee will be responsible for overall coordination and support in India, Nepal and Bhutan, Each of the departments will be responsible for streamlining regular and special 90th anniversary events under their jurisdiction. Under DIIR, the Department of Information and International Relations, each of the offices of Tibet will form organizing committees in each nation under their jurisdiction to develop and execute events at national and international levels. At an appropriate time, we shall announce a dedicated online portal for downloading materials that can be accessed by everyone. This includes films, documentaries, exhibitions, and more, and also for uploading conducted events. Last month, after passing the Resolve Tibet Act in both the houses of the US Congress, a 7-member high-level bipartisan US congressional delegation led by the chair of House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Michael McCaul, purposely visited Dharamsala and presented a framed copy of the legislation to His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Speeches of the delegates in support at the event organized by the Central Tibetan Administration in their honor have moved many hearts. At this occasion, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi pronounced, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, with his message of knowledge, tradition, compassion, purity of soul, and love, he will live forever. The legislation aimed at resolving the Sino-Tibet dispute recognizes the Sino-Tibet dispute as unresolved and that the legal status of Tibet is yet to be settled under the international law in the official policy of the US government. It acknowledges the Tibetan people's right to self-determination, points out the distorted narrative of Tibetan history by the Chinese government, and urges negotiations. In all, the unprecedented support for the Tibetan people's struggle for justice has lent solid backing to the will of the Tibetan people and to one day freely preserve and protect our religion and culture, language, way of life, and environment. The Kashak will strive to work towards similar policy adoption in other free democratic nations as well. Therefore, we urge every Tibetan and Tibet supporter everywhere in the world to join in this common effort. This year, in recognition of the exiled Tibetans' practice of democracy, the US-based National Endowment for Democracy conferred the Democracy Service Medal in the name of Sikyong of the Central Tibetan Administration. This is a definite recognition of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's visionary leadership and encouragement in steering the Tibetan community towards democracy no sooner after coming into exile, and in honor of the unstinted dedication of the previous generation of Tibetans who put it into practice. At most of the long life prayer offerings to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, including the most recent one, as per divination by Machik Pandelhamo, the state protecting deity, His Holiness has committed to live beyond 110 years. I wish to express our appreciation and gratitude to the protecting deities who are safeguarding His Holiness, the government, and the people of India, the United States, and others, and innumerable individuals for their steadfast support. Particularly at this point of time, when His Holiness is recovering from a successful knee surgery, we want to thank HSS, the Hospital for Special Surgery team, and every Tibetan inside and outside, including non-Tibetans, for their prayers under the guidance of Nechung Choge Chemo, the other state protecting deity. To conclude, Your Holiness, you are the eyes of our view and the heart of our being. Although Your Holiness could rest on the equipoise of emptiness like space, yet you choose to serve all living beings in this illusory world. May Your Holiness live long. May all your wishes be fulfilled, devoid of obstacles. May Your Holiness return to the Potala Palace and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma. May the truth of our cause prevail. And may there soon be the union of Tibetans inside and outside Tibet. May this vast world be illuminated by the light of wisdom that distinguishes what to adopt and what to abandon. And may all directions be filled with the soothing shade of compassion. Thank you.